Welcome to the Wealth Stream Podcast. The team at HighTower Great Lakes share their insights and passions for empowering their clients to live their best life. In this energetic podcast, we will take you on a journey to help you navigate your financial future, overcome life's challenges to reach your financial goals, and find the financial clarity you've been searching for. Let's explore the downstream impact of your wealth and what it means to you, your family, and your community to live greater.
Hello and welcome to the Wealth Stream with Tim Scannell from HighTower Great Lakes. Good morning, Tim. How are you?
I'm good, Eric. You know, we're 8 months into COVID and we're making it through. How about you?
That's right. 8 months out of 103 months.
Don't say that.
I know. I don't know what they're saying these days, but yeah, we can check off the 8-month box. Yay.
Exactly. Check.
Yeah. And obviously, we always kind of ask each other how we're doing, and that's the theme of this podcast today is you're kind of hitting the second part of your State of the Union address.
Yes. You know, I would say in the last 3 or 4 months in particular, but also just throughout my career, you know, clients would ask, well, how are you guys doing? You know, and I had originally thought, let's make a 3-part podcast for it. And then I was talking to my smarter half, Nancy, of course, and she's like, you know, less is more. So I'm combining 2 and 3 into this one. So we went through part 1 last time, which was talking about, you know, some of the working at home, remote best practices, how we've responded to COVID, how I'm watching clients respond, which is really more of a practical, you know, how did we do this year? Mm-hmm. What I thought we would do in part 2, which is today, is, you know, 2 years ago, I merged my practice in with 2 other advisors to become HighTower Great Lakes. And, you know, we get a lot of questions about that. So I just thought I would kind of take a 2-year snapshot and, you know, why did we do it, just to refresh, and how are we doing and all that. And then at the end, because I did promise last time that I would give you my one word to describe 2020.
That's right.
And I promised that it would be good and that everyone could hear it. And then also my word and thoughts for 2021. So that's kind of what I thought I covered today.
All right. Then since we're condensing 2 into 1, I'm just going to be quiet and let you go.
No.
Yeah.
It's up to me now. Darn it. Okay.
That's right. It's all on your shoulders, Tim.
Shoot. A lot of pressure today.
Yep.
So just to go back and talk a little bit about why we did become HighTower Great Lakes. So as I look at the industry, as I'm working with clients, as we're trying to constantly make sure we're competitive, add services, there was a couple key things that we were facing as we got into 2018. One was, you know, there's not a lot of clients understand this, but I think they understand it just watching the whole world be this way, is there's a lot of price compression in the investment and financial planning and wealth management industry. Mm-hmm. And although we never say our goal is to be the cheapest, you know, because that's not what we're trying to do. We talk about we're trying to be very competitive price-wise, and we focus on value. So value is the key. And, you know, there are things like the custodians we use. So our clients primarily have their assets held at Fidelity or Schwab or Pershing, and there's constant price pressure there. There's, you know, the investment management side, so mutual funds, exchange-traded funds, money managers, you know, they're constantly facing price compression. There's robo-advisors. And so one of the things we're always trying to do is make sure that as we're expanding our services, as we're, you know, working for clients, that we continually are price competitive and adding value. So, for example, last year and then into this year, a lot of the custodians like Fidelity, Schwab, TD Ameritrade completely lowered their prices, and sometimes, in some cases, went down to zero. And in that case, we were able to pass those savings, you know, not to additional profits for us, but the way we do it, we passed all those savings to the client. So It's just an example of that was one thing that we probably couldn't have done if we weren't a little bit larger, working with a little bit larger firm. Mm-hmm. The other part of it too is, you know, and I think our clients understand this because they experience it daily, is security. There's just so much going on right now where people are trying to steal your data. Mm-hmm. Once, twice a month, we get emails from who we think are clients. Turns out they're not. Maybe their account has been hacked, or somehow they've gotten their data. So we spend a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of resources on training our team, making sure the data is secure. We had to add like a number of additional processes to verify emails. For example, when we get an email from a client, especially if it's related to transferring any funds or making any changes, we automatically call them, make sure that we get verbal confirmation. We've added all kinds of things like they call them authentication, or when the client sends us, when we send a DocuSign or a form, or when a client gets onto a website. Unfortunately, it's a pain for clients. It's a pain for us. It's more work for everyone. But we have to set up these, where they maybe text your phone, or they give you some other authentication, or they call you. And so in order to do these things like security, in order to negotiate better pricing for clients with the custodian side, we just couldn't do it based on our size. And that was two of the reasons why we originally thought about why we needed to merge.
Well, and it's all about that value that you were talking about earlier, is that security for you guys it's expensive. I mean, it's not cheap to make sure everything's secure, and using all these different systems and doing the trainings and all that. That is an expense that you incur because you want your clients to be safe. And I know that your clients, they appreciate it from afar, I'm sure, in a lot of ways, and they don't know exactly everything that goes into it. But once they kind of unpack what that means, I think that they would really find that a huge value add to what you do.
Exactly. And, the additional cost also comes with the compliance side. So we're very heavily regulated, which is great because it's a protection for our clients. We are regulated by FINRA, which is a brokerage firm federal agency. We choose to be fiduciary, so we're also registered or our compliance through the SEC. We're also regulated in every state we operate in, and we just have a lot more clients moving all over the country. So, now we're required to, be regulated in 35 states. So it just gets complicated and more expensive. But the other part beyond the money part is really the world is so much faster. And for us to be communicating proactively in many different ways, we just needed to add more. We needed to be a little bit larger so we could hire more people. We could add more services. For example, the next generation. So I'm 58. I'm not quite on the exit plan, but as you know, or Erica, you have kids. And when I talk to my clients with their younger kids, and especially their grandkids, they're learning, they're seeing, they're taking in data, they're getting information differently, than we used to. So I'm old school. I like meeting with clients. I like sitting in a conference room, their office, their house, whatever. But we have a lot of people who have said in the last couple of years, Tim, don't take it personal, but I never want to meet you. I would rather I want what you offer. But at the same time, I want it via video. I want it via email. I want it electronically. So all those things require a lot of additional resources, a lot of additional ways to deliver the information, a lot of additional cost. So again, this was another reason why we wanted to basically merge, so that expand the amount of communications faster and in different venue.
Nice. Yeah,
so like even these podcasts, I never imagined that I would be doing podcasts 3 years ago. And I think I just completed my 52nd or 53rd podcast. So, and now I'm getting videos, and I have a face for podcasting, not necessarily for videos. So who knows how that'll turn out.
Oh, it'll be fine. They can change the white balance in their TV or on their screen and figure that out.
Yeah. And then, related to that is how we're meeting our clients, how they're wanting to meet with us, like I just said, is different now, and especially in light of COVID. So fortunately, we had made some of these changes in advance. We certainly didn't anticipate the changes that we would have had to do with COVID, but even just like meeting prep. So if a client calls me and it's not a scheduled meeting, it would typically take me 30, 45 minutes and my team to kind of make sure we're prepared with an agenda, with reports, etc. I mean, I have done this recently. This week I did it in my car. So a client calls. Obviously the client wants immediate response, connection, questions, answers, and I'm literally able to pull over. Fortunately, I did pull over to the side of the road.
Yeah.
And pull up everything on my iPad or my phone securely, but it allows me then to be responsive proactively and get back to them. These are things I couldn't have done even 2 years ago.
Wow. Yeah.
And then, with COVID, I had never done Zoom. I wasn't really sure what it was, except for maybe my kids running on track,
Mm-hmm.
But I've now done 200 plus Zoom meetings.
Wow.
We still have, in Indiana, our office has opened up. So we are having meetings when clients want them. I had 2 yesterday. But we're certainly continuing to offer phone, Zoom, WebEx, and really any sort of communication video that we can to make sure that we're delivering the service we have, the comprehensive planning, in a way that the clients are looking for it. So that's been a really big change.
Yeah.
And the other thing we did too was we changed the process when we merged in 2019, and we expanded this into 2020, where we try to always have 2 people in a meeting. So there's a primary person on the team and a secondary person on the team, so that the client knows that if, for example, right now I'm in this podcast, if a client calls, they might know that Justin or Samantha or Wes are also kind of a secondary person they can always call. They know everything about everything that we're doing for them. I mean, everyone in the firm does, but it's nice to have a secondary and a primary. And that was another thing we had changed, which really helped when we moved into the COVID world, because it just, because everyone's remote and we're all trying to figure out how to communicate with more and more people. So that really helped a lot. So what it all comes down to, all the things I talked about are really HighTower Great Lakes, Scannell Wealth Management, which is what it was before. I really needed to expand the team.
Mm-hmm.
I really needed to expand our team with really strong, smart, next-gen, high-tech people. And to do that, I needed to be, not that I want to be big, not that I'm from Chicago, but I didn't want to move back into Chicago. I love Valparaiso. I didn't want to move up to Traverse City, where our other partner is. But what I was looking for was the ability to attract and retain great people and compensate them and give them a career path. And as a smaller firm, it's just much harder to do that.
Yeah.
Whereas when we tripled in size, it wasn't, again, necessarily being bigger, but it just allowed us to recruit and attract people. And that's, fortunately, like here in Valpo, we have Justin, we have Samantha, we have Wes. In Chicago, Stephanie's in support. Up in Traverse City, Kim and Laura and Don. We really couldn't do this with 3 independent firms, but we can do it as a merged entity to really all support and collaborate for our clients.
Yeah, and shout out to Samantha, because she was on a podcast before, and if you have not heard that, you'll understand exactly why Tim, brought her onto the team.
Yeah, and just to one more point about the money. So we literally spend, $500,000 a year or more supporting the team, educating, certification, continuing ed, security, technology, infrastructure, and we'll continue to do that because we have to do that to be sustainable. We have to do that to be a firm that can not just serve our clients, but also serve their children, their next generation, and their favorite charities.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of a quick outline as to what I was thinking and why. And then I'll kind of fast forward a little bit to my partners, Steve, Blair, and Wes. So I had worked, I should say I collaborated with, I shared ideas, I brainstormed for almost 10 years with Steve and Blair. And I had been working with Wes here in our office for about 8 years. And one of the things I was looking for was more perspective from partners. So, for example, Steve and Stephanie are in Chicago. Steve is very strong on the investment process, the investment services, the details of managing money. And Stephanie is a support person in Chicago. And so Steve complements some of the things I do. I more love the planning side. Wes here in the office in Valpo, he really is the leader of the next generation. He's youth. He's super strong in operations. And he's really helped us as a firm, as a combined firm, kind of formalize the career paths, the compensations, the training, education, certification. So he operates as our chief operating officer.
Nice.
And here, we've been able to recruit Samantha and Justin, who are just incredible kind of support advisors. They will be the future of the firm in terms of lead advisors down the road. You know, some of my clients and some of the audience might remember Hannah. She was our marketing person, and she took a great opportunity to be closer to family. So Gina now is our marketing communications person. And, you know, the benefit of us having somebody like Gina is that we can consistently and quickly and proactively communicate because, for example, when we're managing money for clients, we have what we call discretion. And discretion just means that if you and I meet, Eric, and we have a plan, and we know what the plan is, and we all agree what it is, we want to be able to implement and change and make, protect you, for example, if the market's doing poorly, or maybe get you more into the market, for example, if we feel that's the case. So if we have 300 or 400 clients that we're working with, we don't want to have to call you first before we make these changes, but we also want to communicate quickly when we are. So we have the discretion, for example, on the investment process side. We move quickly, we move proactively, and someone like Gina really helps us get that data out to people, between our meetings, and then making sure our clients know exactly what we're doing and how we're responding to things like COVID or markets and elections and things like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then, like, you go up to my partner Blair. One of the beauties is, for 10 years, I collaborated with him and brainstormed with him, and he has a really good understanding of client service, what clients are looking for. He always teases me when I give him my elaborate spreadsheets and numbers, and he says, "Tim, I'm verbal. Don't keep sending me all this stuff." I mean, so again, he's a compliment to maybe some of my strengths and my weaknesses. And he is our chief operating officer. So he's an advisor. He's a phenomenal advisor. He's grown an incredible business up in Traverse City, but he also has been really valuable in helping HighTower Great Lakes set the vision. And he has, Kim up in Traverse City has been working with him for, I can't even tell you how many years, because we're not allowed to talk about age. No, just kidding. But Kim's amazing. And really, Blair couldn't do what he does without Kim. And same with Laura. Laura's been up there, and Laura really does whatever it takes to serve the client. And Don he's an advisor that he probably is the future of the Traverse City office. He's incredibly empathetic, super client-focused advisor, and he's a great partner to have.
Nice.
So, again, that's just kind of a little perspective on why I ended up merging with Steve, Wes, Blair, etc. And really, just to give you a couple examples in terms of operational efficiencies to keep our costs down, to make sure we're continuing to be competitive. The one example I'll give you is we had 3 separate firms. We all did our own accounting, our own billing, our own human resources. So one of the efficiencies is just having one firm. We're really able to kind of consolidate that. So Stephanie in Chicago now does all the billing for the combined firm, as opposed to 3 separate people doing it. So there's some efficiencies which we then pass on to clients, again, to continually be competitive, which is what our goal is.
Yeah, absolutely. And it frees up people that were doing billing before to focus on something else, which, again, I know you well enough to be able to say that that's going to be client-focused. It's going to be something around serving clients as opposed to just other work. So that's fantastic. Yeah,
and so 2 years into it, as we're finishing 2020, thank God, by the way.
Thank you.
Exactly. In addition to just continuing to be competitive, in addition to trying, to attract and retain a better team, a stronger team, a younger team to, support our clients into the future, the other benefit of the merger has been that we've really been able to add a lot of additional services that I think benefit clients. So, for example, we're currently offering more of what we call virtual family office type services to some of our higher net worth, more complicated entrepreneur business owners. So, like Eric, you and I did a couple podcasts on that. We did one, I think it was episode 28. It's called Living Your Optimal Financial World. And then we also did one on family office services, which was episode 16. We have a series of white papers. But what happens is, in addition to traditional financial advice, wealth management, we're able to do a lot of one-off planning projects we're also able to take a lot of the daily management of people's net worth and their balance sheets off their shoulders. Things like, bill pay, things like accounting, or just helping somebody do a due diligence process for property and casualty insurance. We're not property and casualty agents. We don't get compensated for that, but we like to make sure that all our clients' risks are covered.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's just an example of some of the things we do over and above the traditional wealth management.
Yeah.
We've also been able to add more robust business succession planning services for our business owner clients.
Mm-hmm.
And also, we've really expanded our tax planning firm-wide. So, for example, in episode 31 of the podcast, if you go back, you'll see that we talked about how to be tax efficient, with your charitable giving, or I think episode 37 was tax avoidance versus tax evasion. You never want
Big
to
difference.
be in the tax evasion business. But
Yeah.
the point is, we have really been able to add a lot of additional tax planning, business succession planning. We have a series of white papers and podcasts and videos on value drivers, making sure you get the maximum value. These are all things that we would not have been able to do had we been, smaller. We didn't have the expanded team, the expanded services, things like that. So really 2 years in, the other thing I'm really proud of and happy about is we've really been able to attract a lot of great advisors. So Wes, Justin, Samantha, Don, and then just working with Blair and Steve, I couldn't be happier because I feel like my clients are just so much better off. For 35 years, I've had clients say to me, Tim, if you get hit by the proverbial bus, what happens? And I'm more confident today than I was a year ago, 2 years ago, certainly 10 years ago, that if I left a firm, and I don't plan on it, but that my clients would definitely be able to, they'd be taken care of into the future. So that's what makes me happy, because I didn't really build and grow this business. I didn't try to attract and work with my clients with the thought that at some point I leave and they have to go somewhere else. So I'm trying to build something that's sustainable for them going forward.
Yeah, and you and I have had multiple conversations on the podcast and also off air, talking about wanting to make sure that your clients are taken care of no matter what. And that's, business succession planning. When we've spoken about that, that's come up multiple times, and you're a big proponent of making sure that everybody's taken care of. So I've heard your heart in this matter, and I know that was heavy on your mind and something that you wanted to make sure everything was in place, and that's what you hope your clients do too.
Exactly. So now I'll just leave the listener with two things. One is my word for 2020.
Oh, here it is.
So drum roll, no. So my word, what I've learned mostly, and the one word I think is best to describe it, is really proactive. Our investment process has had to be so proactive. When COVID hit and the market dropped, there were points where indexes were down, 25, 30%. And, we were daily figuring out how to respond. In the meantime, we had just moved our office. We moved our office at the first week of March, and then we had to shut down.
That's right.
Had to close. Then, we were able to open 5 weeks later, and then we had COVID issues, so we had to close again. And, then now we're all working remote. We're all doing, 200 plus Zoom meetings now. We're doing videos, blogs, calls. But more than just what we're doing, I've witnessed my clients all really, really changing not only how they do business and responding to this, but how they're living. How you're interacting with your children, your grandchildren, your friends. I learned the new word, what's your pod? Because everyone's trying to find their little pod of safety. So proactive is critical for 2020, because as things were happening, you didn't have to, my thought was that we were thinking of today for sure, how are we responding to this, but we're always trying to figure out how do we respond to tomorrow with so much uncertainty. So that's my word, and I'm sticking to it.
That's right.
And then my word for 2021 is empathy. And I think empathy is a critical word going forward, because I want to meet my clients where they are. And all of my clients are in different places, politically, economically, in terms of their feelings and beliefs about COVID and the response and the lockdowns. And it's just everyone is very on edge. So I try my best to be empathetic, and I want to be empathetic as we go into 2021 so that I can meet my clients, but I can also meet my family, my friends, wherever they are, wherever their beliefs are, whatever their thought process is about everything going on. I also want to be empathetic, and we're talking as a firm about doing this more with support for local nonprofits, support for local businesses. You know, when COVID first hit, we had this plan where we were constantly ordering out food, just trying to support restaurants who were trying to figure out how to do this, but also not just the food, but also, trying to work with other small businesses just to support and keep them going, because I think they're the lifeblood in supporting entrepreneurs. And as we get into 2021, right now it's middle November, and there appears to be a COVID spike, and there's additional lockdowns. And I just want to be, and I want our firm to be empathetic and support our clients, our family, our friends, local business, entrepreneurs, where they are, where they need, so we can do whatever we can to support them.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I was not expecting that for your word for 2021, but I think that's beautiful. No, I mean, seriously, that was not what I was thinking. And man, that really hits home, because it doesn't matter where you live in the country. Everybody's being affected drastically. And driving around, I'm seeing more and more smaller businesses that have shut their doors completely. And that's very difficult to see. And I know that I don't have clients that are small business owners in this area. And so that's a little bit different for me, working with them remotely. But it's hard to see that, and it's hard to know that families have put in, blood, sweat, and tears into something, and now it hasn't worked out because of this whole situation. So I love that is your word for 2021.
Yeah, so we're just going to try and meet people wherever they're at.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, Tim, I think that's a great place to close this sucker out. And I thank you for your time. If somebody wants to reach out and just chat with you about maybe some more words you have for 2021 or for the rest of this.
What I was really thinking, right?
Exactly. What you really wanted to say but couldn't say it on the podcast. But if they want to reach out and chat with you about this, how do they get a hold of you?
They can always call me direct at 219-246-5370 or send me an email at tscannell@hightoweradvisors.com, or just check out our website where we have a lot of resources that you can get on these topics we're talking about.
Fantastic. Absolutely. All right. And of course, the last thank you goes to the listening audience. Thank you for tuning in and listening to the Wellstream Podcast with Tim Scannell. If you have not subscribed to the podcast yet, please click the subscribe now button below. This way, when Tim comes out with a new podcast, it'll show up directly on your listening device. This makes it much easier to share these podcasts with your friends and family. Again, thank you so much for listening today. For everyone at HighTower Great Lakes, this is Eric Johnson reminding you to live your best day every day. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Wealthstream Podcast. We hope you gained some valuable insight that you can apply to your life and share with others. Please don't forget to subscribe below to be notified when new episodes become available. And don't forget to live greater. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of HighTower Great Lakes. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning. HighTower Great Lakes is a group of investment professionals registered with HighTower Securities, LLC, member FINRA and SIPC, and with HighTower Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor with the SEC. Securities are offered through HighTower Securities, LLC. Advisory services are offered through HighTower Advisors, LLC.